The blinding of Polyphemus, hac oratione habita, having made this speech, orationem habeo, it looks like it should be I have a speech, but it's I make a speech. Having made this speech, with this speech having been made, oratione habita. What is that an example of, Dana? An ablative absolute. Absolutely right. Well done. Good. So, having made this speech, postquam, after, calefacit, after he, and we've got here the calefaccio, after he made the, after he made the end of the palum, after he made the end of the stake hot with fire, nothing important there, grammar-wise, after he made the end of the stake hot with fire, with flames, oculum polyphemi. This is one of my favourite things about Odysseus. Ulysses is the fact that actually not only is he incredibly smart, but he's also got what I was saying to the other group, this practical intelligence. He's able to design stakes and string sails and do all of these sorts of and build boats, as well as being able to outwit everyone, as well as having this sort of amazing ability to speak and to convince people to do things. He's also physically very capable, and he has this practical intelligence. He has that skill set, polymetis, much skilled Odysseus. After he made the end of the stake hot with fire, he perfodit, and then we've got the perfodio here, he dug through the eye of Polyphemus, of the dormientis Polyphemi, of the sleeping Polyphemus, dormientis. What kind of word, Phoebe? It is a present active participle. Absolutely right. Of course, it wouldn't be a present passive participle because they don't exist. So that would be the next bit. They don't have a present passive participle, and for that we use a gerondiv. The ancient Greeks did have a present passive participle, but the Romans obviously didn't think it was necessary. He dug through the eye of the sleeping Polyphemus with a ferventi, and you've got that there, with the burning wood. Quo facto, with which thing having been done, or having done this. An example of what, please, Lauren? Ablative absolute again, the quo facto. It's the perfect passive participle, and then look for that O ending telling us we've got an ablative absolute. Having done this, with which thing having been done. Sounds clunky. Having done this, omnes, they all hid themselves in various parts of the cave at Ile, but he, suddenly, excitatus, having been woken by that pain, by the pain of his eye from his sleep, sustulit, raised a terrible shout, and while he was erat, while he was wandering through the cave, he konarbator, he was trying to grab Ulysses in his hand. Konarbator, swadi, konarbator, looks like it should be, was being tried, but it's not passive, it's active. It looks passive, but is active. Why is that? It's a deponent verb, absolutely right. So he was trying to grab Ulysses with his hand. Cum, when, however, since, cum tamen, the tamen telling me that it's a since, however, he was now, kaikus esset, since he was now completely blind, nullo modo, he was not able to efficere, to accomplish this, interea reliqui, cyclopes. Meanwhile, the remaining cyclopes, audito clamore, with the shout having been heard. That is an example of what, please, Shakira? Ablative absolute. Good. With the shout having been heard, they gathered on all sides at the cave. They gathered on all sides at the cave. And ad stantes, standing at the entrance, they quaesiuit. They asked Polyphemus, and then do we have the same thing here? Standing, they asked Polyphemus what was happening for that bit. And standing by the sides, they asked, yes, although I'm looking at why Polyphemus would be in the nominative there, they asked what was happening. Ageret is going to be in the subjunctive. Why is ageret in the subjunctive? Please, Dana. They asked what was happening. Indirect question. What is happening? Present. They asked, I'm sorry, I see now why it's it. They asked what Polyphemus was doing. That's it. They asked what Polyphemus was doing. The same answer applies, though Dana was absolutely right. It is an indirect question. What are you doing, Polyphemus? That is a direct question. They asked what Polyphemus was doing. An indirect question, and it's the quid is telling us here that we are dealing with an indirect question, quid plus the subjunctive. So they asked what Polyphemus was doing. And on account of what cause sustuliset he had raised such an uproar? Sustuliset, pluperfect subjunctive. Lauren, why? Indirect question again. What cause, on account of what cause, yeah, why have you raised such an uproar? Direct question, they asked why he had raised such an uproar. Indirect question, on account of what cause had he raised? Pluperfect subjunctive. Ille, he responded that he had been gravely wounded. Se vulneratum esse. Look at that. Se, accusative. Vulneratum esse, infinitive. The respondit at the beginning. All of that tells me that we're dealing with a se vulneratum esse with what? Why is that an accusative infinitive, Dana? Indirect statement. Well done. Remember that as soon as you see the respondit, as soon as you see a verb of a saying or of thinking, you want to be looking for an accusative, which we find in the se, and then an infinitive, which we find in the vulneratum esse. The next bit. So he responded that he was wounded severely and that he was afflicted, ad fici, where we get the word afflicted from actually, Shakira, that he was afflicted with great pain. Ad fici. Can you tell me why that is a present passive infinitive, please?
Because indirect statement.
Indirect statement as well. The original respondent is governing that as well. He responded that he was wounded and that he was afflicted with great pain. Cum. When, however, afterwards they had asked who had brought this attack upon him, in tuliset, pluperfect subjunctive, why please swarthy, when they had asked who had brought this indirect question. Good. Who has brought this attack on you? Direct question. They had asked who had. Quaesi wisent. Why is that in the subjunctive, Phoebe? Temporal clause indeed. When they had asked who had inflicted this attack upon him, he responded. He replied that no one had done it to him. Fekise, perfect infinitive. Why is fekise perfect infinitive, please? Lauren. Indirect question, is it? Statement, absolutely right. Indirect statement. Good. He replied that no one had done it to him. The quibus rebus auditis, having heard these things, quibus rebus auditis, what is that an example of, please, Shakira? Having heard these things. Ablative absolute. Good. One of the Cyclopes, this is the race of the Cyclopes, one of the Cyclopes said, but if no one has wounded you, haud dubium est. There is no doubt that I would probably go down to the verb at the end actually, that you adficaris, that we've got just over here, that you are being afflicted by this hoc supplicio, by this punishment, concilio, by a plan of the gods, quibus, against whom we are not able, nec possumus, nec volumus, nor do we want, resistere, to resist. So, there is no doubt, hac dubium, there is no doubt that you, adficiaris, there is no doubt that you are being, that it is by the plan of the gods that you are being afflicted by this punishment, against whom we are not able, nor do we wish to resist. What case is quibus, the relative pronoun in there, please? Dana. We are not able to give resistance against them. Ablative, it could be. Unlikely. The object of the verb normally is in the accusative. If it's not, the next most common is the dative. Good, yeah. Literally imagine giving resistance to. Literally, we are not able to give resistance to. To whom we are not able to give resistance. Adficiaris there, passive. Hoc cum dixiset. When he had said this, the Cyclopes went away. Dixiset, subjunctive, pluperfect subjunctive. Why, Shakira?
Sorry, which one?
When he had dixiset, when he had said this. Temporal clause, absolutely right. The Cyclopes, abierunt, went away. Arbitrati, having judged, eum, him, having judged that he had fallen into insanity. Eum incidisse. Phoebe, tell me about that. They judged him to have fallen into insanity.
It's an indirect statement.
It is an indirect statement. Well done. Following the verb of saying or thinking, in this case, judging him to have fallen. And then you have the infinitive, incidisse. What tense of the infinitive is incidisse? Finishing it off then, please, Lauren. To have fallen. Perfect active infinitive. Absolutely right. Very well done, everyone. And that leads us up now on to number 90. Odysseus is, at the moment, sacker of cities. very soon to become much suffering because of his actions